If you have any questions, and you can just throw them in the chat. I'm going to ask Mary to just kind of see if she can field the chat for us while we go. All right. So basically, like I said, we want to start with just kind of an event. So you're going to have an event. We're going to just kind of look at the timelines. We're going to see how you register. We're going to talk about ticket sales, any purchases that you need to make using Buy to Pay. We're going to roll into contracts, any contracts that may need to go into Buy to Pay, and then we'll round out with travel. There are still other topics that we need to cover, so like employment and things like that. We'll have another training at some point, maybe late February, where we kind of wrap everything up. That being said, throughout this conversation, I want you to just kind of think about some of the issues that you may have had in the past. Think about the issues that you're currently going through. If you have, if they're not too complex, you can send them in the chat. But think through these things so that we can, if we have question time at the end, we can kind of walk through some of these issues and see how Soul can best support you with these things that you're going through. And mostly, when I talk about issues, I mean mostly procedural or technical issues. We can't change the rules that we have. So so if you say want to have alcohol at your event and you're an undergrad, we can't change that rule. But if there are procedural things that we can kind of go through and help you understand better, we hope to do that. So just kind of think about those things. And if you could all just mute for me, that'd be great. Just a quick overview. I don't know if any of you have ever seen these numbers like this, but you know what we process in our office is probably 30,000 plus transactions, and that includes RFPs, things in Buy to Pay, POs in Buy to Pay. That includes CVC transactions. So all of our transactions are probably over $30,000 transactions individually, which amounts to probably somewhere usually in the $5 to $6 million range of how much money goes through our office. There are 15,000 of you, 614 different group types or groups. There are 5 group type categories, and then there are 3 of us. So I just kind of want to make you aware of all the traffic that kind of goes through our office. But we'll always have somebody in the office. So if there's any questions, you stop by W2500. See if I can. Okay. So for your events, when you're starting and thinking about doing an event, you want to have a timeline in mind. And for our purposes, we're going to delve into contracts and we're going to delve into sponsorships. So keep in mind those things. When you're doing anything, you want to make sure you have that timeline in mind. Now, you may see these numbers different in other places, but it's always best to keep with these numbers as the minimum time. If you do it closer to the time that you need to do your business, yeah, things may work out, but it's going to be a little bit touch and go. So you want to make sure that you get everything done as early as possible. You settle all your affairs, all of your business as early as possible. And this is just the same timeline in a different, just kind of laid out differently. So take a second to look at that. I'll be sending out these slides, so don't worry about memorizing it or anything. So then, before you even get into your event, you want to have a budget, and that's probably the most important thing. I didn't list it here because I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit. But you want to know how much you're going to spend. You want to take a look at how much they spent last year, if this is a reoccurring event, and how that looks with the prices this year. So what is your event? When is it happening? Make sure you do all those things that you need to do. Contact those vendors that have the contracts. If you work with the Hilton, the hotel, to get a room block, make sure you contact them early. They usually do contracts up to a year out. How much do you expect to attend? Where are you going to have this event? Keep in mind your upcoming purchases and just unexpected issues. You want to keep I will always say you might want to have that CVC on hand, and the CVC on hand for those unexpected issues. And then when your event is done, make sure all your bills are paid and all of your funds are received. So sometimes you have a great successful event, and then you're chasing money for the next year because some sponsor just didn't pay, and we're looking for the money, or there's a vendor, poor vendor didn't get paid because we got their goods, they trusted us to pay them on time, and we never submitted the invoice, which is a vital part. So just kind of make sure that those things are covered. So you should all be familiar with this. When you're having an event, you want to register it. Before you register your event, you need to secure your location. So you want to book any space on campus at least 30 days out. However, sometimes they fill up fast. So you might have to book it 6 months out as opposed to 30 days. So be mindful of the space that you're getting, and you have to do the space before you go into Atlas. The space has to be confirmed before you go into Atlas. So then, hope you all know, you go to Atlas, you open up the full menu, then you go to the general tab, and then you open event planning, and then you type in your information. So in order to type in your information, you need your event name, the date. You need to know what's going to happen at your event. So, entertainment, alcohol. Will you have minors there? Are you going to have a speaker? Any dignitaries? These are some of the things that you need to know. How many people? Because that depends on whether there will need police presence. How many people from outside of the MIT community? Again, something that determines police presence. So these are things that you need to kind of keep in mind when you're filling out the Atlas form. And police presence does come with a cost associated with it, even if you don't want the police presence there. They make their determination, and then they will charge you. So always just keep that in mind.
If you have age data,
you want to get your locations. Like I said, locations around campus fill up pretty quickly. So the two places where you can reserve your spots is through the CAC website, the EMS website, and here's the page for that. You go in, you do need to have somebody listed as a space signatory in Engage. So again, that's something that we went over yesterday that you should know about. So make sure that person, that space signatory, is the one filling these requests out, because we have given access to all of these folks on campus. And once they look and Engage and see that you're not a space signatory, they will reject your request. And then from there, you lose time. Well, why did my request get rejected? So now you have to go back to Engage. Then you lose a day because they're probably not going to get back to it that same day. So within that day, somebody could sneak in and get that space from you. So make sure you're all set up before you start to make these requests. And then just some other places on campus. IHQ has a beautiful facility. You can think about holding events there. The MIT Museum, Sandberg Center, the Media Lab, Endicott House, Walk Along. There are other outdoor spaces on campus, and there are other indoor spaces, Cressage, different auditoriums. So look into all the spaces, understand what type of facility you need and how big, and go from there. Now, this is just the front page of registering your event in Atlas. And as you can see, you need your name, the name of the event, just a brief description. You need the host and their phone number. and then what type of group it is. You need to know the time and start date and the end date. Lower down on this list, they have places where you need to put in your other information. So if you have entertainment, you have a DJ, you have to list that. If you're going to have alcohol, you need a bartending service. You need prior approval for alcohol, and that's generally for grad groups. But you need prior approval. You cannot spend your money, the money from the club, on alcohol. So there are things with that you need to know before you can even click it, because we'll ask questions. Minors, if you're having an event for minors or with minors, minors will need to be accompanied by adults, or you need to kind of fill out a lot of information, waivers and everything to kind of secure the space so that we can host minors at MIT. Once you register your event, you want to make sure that you can get the word out. So there are a couple ways to advertise. You can advertise in the infinite. It costs, I forget the amount that it costs, but it costs money to be on those screens. You can poster, and I'm sure you all have talked about the extensive postering policy. And you can come to Engage. We have a front page of Engage where you'll see all of the events that are upcoming. And how do you set up an event? So what you do is you go ahead into your Engage page, go to the Events tab, and then select Create an Event. Once you select that button, you'll only need to know the what, which is right here, the team, which is automatically populated, so you as the person completing it will be on the team. And if you want to add people, that's fine as well, where they will get notifications as things happen. The when, you do have to complete the when, just to let it know when it is and where it is. That is the vital information. So if you're just having a basic event where everybody is invited, but people need to register, and it's nice to still have a registration so that you know how many people are interested, how many people are coming, so you know everything. You control this. Now, there's another ticketing app on campus where it's called Admit One, and it's great. You fill out their registration form, and they take care of everything in the background for you. For this, you kind of have you're in the driver's seat, so you're seeing if somebody says they paid using Engage, you can just pull it up and go and look and say, hey, yeah, you paid. I see you. Thanks. If it's in Admit One, you do have to email the Admit One team so that they can get you a list to see who paid. But this is the basic information you need for this. If you will be charging for tickets, you will scroll down to the registration area. And from there, you add ticket prices, the dates you want to sell tickets. You can have tickets at different times. So I guess you could have an early bird ticket for $10 and then a regular ticket for $15, or you can have an on-campus ticket, MIT students ticket, $5, general public, $20. So you have different options on there where you can play with the ticket prices, you can play with the ticket times, but this is the basic information you need for this. So usually we use Stripe. And so again, I was gonna say you can receive payments on anything. So it can be dues from your club. It can be I know some residence hall charge for the meal plan separately. You can, if there's an event, you can use this for almost anything. You'll see the payments come in. Payments are usually run daily. So if somebody says they paid, you'll probably see it in your student organization account the next day, if not maybe the day after, depending on when they actually paid. But we run these every day. You always want to send money to your main account, not to your funding accounts. If there's a need to move any money, please let us take care of that. But always send the money that you're earning to your main account. Now, anything in the Engage system will not be considered a gift. Everything is you're paying for something. So please make sure if somebody wants to gift you funds, please make sure you send them through the recording secretary's office or if you have an MIT giving page. And then these are just some fees. I won't go too deep into the fees because this is very competitive with other credit card receipt companies. And I'll just roll right on to buy to pay. There are 4 steps to buy to pay, to making sure that you successfully purchase something and make sure the vendor is paid. There are 4 steps. Prior to even, so what you do, when you go into buy to pay, the process is you create a requisition. The requisition, if you are the financial signatory, you submit that requisition. We look at it, approve it, and send it on to the Vice President's Office of Finance. The Vice President's Office of Finance then approves and create a purchase order. That is the normal process. If you go into the system and your vendor is not listed in the system, and I will show you that in a second, you need to ask the vendor to become a supplier in the MIT system. And I have some language that I will send to everybody that you can send out to individual vendors when they're not in our system. So you want to make sure the vendor is in our system. And I'm going to go in and show you this really quickly. All right, can everybody see that? Right. First thing you want to do is figure out what you're trying to do. So you want to click that, because let me just go back, kind of give you a once over. This is the front page. When we start to create a requisition, we want to just click this. It says, not sure, let us guide you. We allow them to give us a hand. We can skip right away to writing a request. You know what you want. So we're going to skip to writing a request. And when you get the request, let's say catering for event. So we're just going to do catering.
Sorry, you're still sharing the PowerPoint. We can't see the page that you're
You
on.
can't see that? All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. So let me do Okay, so let me start over. Can we see that now? All right. Sorry about that. So when we go in, this is our front page. You want to say not sure, let them guide you. Then you want to skip right to a request, because we know what we want. And so we're going to we did catering for an event. The next step is the biggest. So catering is food, that's fine. The commodity is the food. We can put that in there. You have a drop down of all the different things, and you just want to pick what category it falls into best. But the supplier is the biggest part. So when you start typing, you're going to get names of places that MIT, anybody in the MIT community has used over the last 18 months in Coupa. So anybody that used anything in Coupa over the last 18 months will be in here. If you have a mom and pop shop that we're getting catering from, That's not in there. Pizza by Ramon. I don't think anybody wants pizza by Ramon, to be honest, but we're gonna say it's $200. Actually, you know what? We're gonna say something else because we got another thing to do. In this case, $10,000. What we want to do is we can go ahead and add that to the cart, just like that. However, when we went to enter our supplier's name, their name didn't come up. So what we want to do is go to forms and click a new US supplier. And it can be an international as well, if it's an international company. So the supplier's name was Pizza by Ramon. All we need is the name of the business, the first name and last name of the contact, and the contact email. Now, I don't want to put it through because they'll be mad at me if I push the button. But once you hit the review button, sometimes we get names of companies incorrect for some reason. Sometimes they have one name that they use, but then they have a actual legal name that's on all of their documentation. So what we do is we put it in here and we hit review. What's going to happen is the Vice President's Office of Finance is going to take a look to see if this company exists in our system by maybe a different name. Once they scour the system, they will send you an email and say, hey, listen, this is great. It's been approved. We're going to email the company. They send out an email to the company in order for the company to register in our system. So it's on surface, it's a very easy process. There are a lot of vendors that, aren't computer savvy. Maybe they're a small business, or they're too big and we don't necessarily have the correct contact. So it's important to get the contact of the person who can actually fill in the documentation. So once they fill that in for us, we're good to go. We can go right into our cart. It might take a couple of days. So again, this is why planning is important. So it might take a couple of days. You want to just go ahead. Generally, you want to select, if the catering is going to a specific place on campus, you want to make sure you select that building. If not, you deal with the vendor directly. You can just put, you can put our address, or you can put something else. Usually, let's see. Usually we have some other area. You can put W2500. Search us up and just use us as a default. Any documentation that you have from this company, contracts, invoices, anything, quote, you want to add it to the file. If it's something, and it's very important, nobody at MIT, there are only a certain amount of people at MIT that can sign certain documents. So anything that you have, you cannot sign, even if it's at no cost. You will be risking all of the liability on that contract. So you want to make sure if you make any attachments, you want to make sure you click the attachments are included. And does a contract need reviewing? If it does, you want to make sure you click that so that it can go to the lawyers. Now, if you scroll down, you see this area down here where we have our information. Our supplier is still empty because our supplier has not filled out the form yet. That's fine. Once they fill out the form, you'll be notified. And this is where, if you want to, you go ahead, you click the magnifying glass, and you put in your cost object. So whatever that is. So you can start typing your club name sometimes, and it'll pop up. Or if you know the number, you can type the number in. Now, as you notice, I was going to say the food costs $100, but I backtracked and I said it should cost $50 or $10,000. My apologies. When anything costs over $10,000, you want to make sure that you complete a selection of source. So if we go back to our homepage, we could scroll down. And what the selection of source is, it's an actual document that MIT requires for any purchase over $10,000. So you do have to compare your vendor with another vendor that is similar. If only your vendor makes this particular trinket, that's an answer too. So I'll just show you, and it's a very easy form. And again, we can put in catering. We have a purchase that's between 10,000 and 250K. So we want to click that. If there's anybody else in your club you want to get a copy of this, you can add their emails. Then you want to hit next, and then you want to put the two companies that you use. So you want to make sure you select that you chose Pizza by Ramon. Happy to hear it. Ours cost $10,000, and the quote for the other company was $40,000. Easy peasy. Then you go ahead and you submit that. You save it and download it. Sorry, you save it and download it, and then you go ahead and add that back into your Coupa cart. So you can add that. Go back to review the cart. You can add that. You can add that in the attachments. You can add it down in the comments, wherever you feel that you want to add it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. We'll find it. One other thing that I want to give you a tip on. If you are going to be in a treasurer position for a year or a financial signatory for a year, you might want to think about, and I know you got a lot going on. We all got a lot going on. I don't want to flood your email inbox, but you might want to think about going to your name. Your name is up here. Everybody's name is up here. And go to settings. Hit the notifications. Now, yours shouldn't look like mine. You don't want everything checked off for sure, but you wanna have some email trail of the things that you're doing in here. So anytime if you go right down to blah blah blah. So orders, I think. Orders. Anytime you have a PO in here in the system that your name is on, you should be notified that it's moving along to the next step. So we approved, you will get a notification when we approve it. And then when VPF approves it, you'll get a notification. So just a quick tip. You don't have to do it, but sometimes it just kind of makes your life easier. And you can do it just for the period that you're doing the event. So if your event is in April, you can click this box. You can click this now and then go back when that event is over in April and turn those notifications off just to save your inbox. All right, so just gonna go back to the slideshow. And one final step. Everything's all said and done. You ordered your item, the item arrived, everybody's happy. The last step is to make sure that you send your invoice. That company sends an invoice and you send that invoice to invoices@mit.cooperhost.com. Now, the company can send the invoice to the email. You can send it to the email. You can, if you don't feel comfortable, you can send it to Mary or I. We'll send it off to VPF. The bottom line is the invoice, even if you uploaded the invoice initially in the requisition, the accounts payable folks are not going to go back to the requisition to look for that invoice. So they need that invoice specially sent to them. And then you'll get this. This is, basically what I just did in Coupa. So just kind of a line for line description of how to how to go about putting something in Coupa in Buy to Pay. And I apologize, I keep going back and forth. Much like everything at MIT, things have multiple names. So again, just a couple important tips. Sign up for the email alert so that you know what's happening with your requisition and your PO. Don't forget to request new vendors. Sometimes a big sticking point is you'll go through, and this is double time. You'll go through, put everything in Buy to Pay, submit it, and then your event is 2 months out. You're like, I'm good, I'm golden. I did that thing 2 months ago. And all of a sudden, you find out that the PO never went to the company. So what happens is if you don't put in that new vendor, it'll get stuck. It'll never get to us. So we can't even tell you that it's stuck. So it's one of the reasons why you might want to look to sign up for those email alerts. So because it will alert you at some point a week later or something. It'll say, hey, don't forget you got this requisition sitting here. So think about signing up for the email alerts, at least for the time period that you're going to use Buy to Pay. And then again, don't forget to complete the selection of source for anything over $10,000. That's another sticking point where if you don't get the selection of source in, it may sit. So now quickly, the control value card is the student organization's procurement card for each individual club. Every club can get a control value card. It is a declining balance of $3,000. It's not a rotating balance. It doesn't refresh every month. So I just like to tell everybody it's for small purchases. So kind of emergencies or even group meals. It's not to buy big things like furniture or anything like that. So the way you use it, use it sparingly, but it's always good to have. So those little things where you'd be doing RFPs because you're paying out of pocket, save your money. Keep your money in your pocket. Use the CVC. Once you apply for one, it passes through a couple of hands. So processing can be 10 to 20 business days, or can be longer, or sometimes it can be shorter. You'll get email notification that the application was approved or was processed. The next step, 10 to 20 business days later, is you'll get another email saying, hey, your card is ready. Fill out the agreement form because you have to make certain agreements. I agree I'm not going to buy alcohol. I'm not going to buy hazardous materials. Things that you have to kind of agree to. You'll get that, and then you can come pick the card up. The one thing is after the way things get posted to your account is that you save those receipts. So once you make a purchase, please, please, please save your receipts and submit them within 7 days. That is vital to us being able to actually post the funds to your account. And I know I'm speeding along, so I haven't looked at the chat. I hope there are some good questions. I hope people are just kind of, and I hope I'm not going too fast. So travel is important. A lot of clubs want to do a retreat or Maybe there are conferences that you all go to. Maybe you fly somebody in, a speaker. These are all different examples of travel, sports competitions. All travel outside of 25 miles must be registered. Especially if you're going to do any reimbursements. So if you spend money while you're away and you want to be reimbursed by your club, you must fill out the travel registration. And the travel registration is for us, it's for safety purposes so that we know who has traveled, where you are, and if there's anything that happens, we know how to get in touch with you and how to best proceed from whatever the emergency is. So, just a quick example of why you need to register to travel was COVID. There were students out of town traveling when the COVID pandemic broke out and MIT sent everybody home. And so then we had to figure out, okay, well, who's traveling and how do we get them home? So just kind of a small example of why it's important to register that travel. International travel is especially important to register. So there are 2 places you got to register to international travel. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you have to register in 2 places because because the risks are a little bit higher when you travel internationally. We ask that you consult with MIT Global Supports. You register on their system. That is just for international travel. They give you information on safety abroad. If there's a particular country that you want to go to that has particular risks, they will explain those risks for that particular country to you. For us, we ask that you also register on Engage. And again, that is for our reimbursement purposes mostly, but also we need to know who's traveling. So if you go to Switzerland, you have a great time, and you do everything you do with MIT Global Supports, you register, they give you all the risks. That's great. But then you come back and you say, oh, I spent $1,000 while I was away. I need to be reimbursed. We will reject it if you did not register in Engage. So it's just so that we know that you went through the proper protocols, because we don't get any information from the Global Supports. The one thing I want to kind of point out is that we do have a travel card in the office. The travel card is not it's not an infinite amount of money, but it is $30,000 per month on our travel card. So we have a lot of clubs and we hit that limit quite a lot. You want to make sure that you get to us fairly early to say, hey, we're traveling in such and such a month. Can you purchase our hotel, or can you purchase our flights, or can you purchase our rental cars, our train tickets? The answer is yes, for the most part. So as long as you go through the proper procedures of registration and do the things that you're supposed to do, we will purchase those things and charge them right to your organization's account. Now you can be creative. If people are going to pay half of their ticket, they can write a check or pay money to MIT to kind of put it back into your account, or they can pay for their own tickets and get reimbursed. So we can be flexible on how you spend, but just keep in mind that we do have a travel card and that we're here to process travel for you if you need be. While you're away, I think, again, there are some things that come up when we're not on campus. I try not to look at my phone on the weekends, my email, but I do. I can't lie. When emails pop up, I glance at them. I say, well, this can wait till Monday. If you are away and you miss a flight and you have urgent travel issue in the subject line, I can't promise I'll look at it in that same minute because I'm doing things on the weekends too, but I will see your message. So if you miss a flight, you need another flight booked. Something that I can do fairly quickly. If it's more of a life or death emergency, you want to make sure that you call 911 first. And then if you want to call the dean on call, or you want to call, send us the email. I can call the dean on call, and we'll work with the a more serious issue. But again, if it's a flight change, a hotel is saying they didn't get my credit card authorization form, which they won't let you check in. Those are things that I will 100% answer as long as I'm close to a computer. I will drop everything and try and make sure that you're safe in your travels. Now this is sort of a travel. It says travel restaurant timeline. Restaurants, when you're doing a big group dinner, it's a little bit difficult because the price change can be the prices can fluctuate based on what's ordered. So you kind of have to work with a restaurant to develop a menu and develop a contract. I can't necessarily just say, hey, take my credit card and leave it with the restaurant, but I can pay for big meals. We just need to really kind of work together. So if we start a couple months ahead of time, restaurants are tough in the sense that they, and for MIT, we're singularly focused. So if you want us to pay by credit card, we can do that. If you want us to sign a contract, we can do that. We generally don't combine the two, because once you sign the contract, we're going to send you a check. And if we pay by credit card, it's a mess in our system. You'll get charged twice on your account, and then it takes me a while for me to explain to VPF, sorry, let's clean this up, please. Restaurants kind of want you to sign a contract, and they're like, hey, just put your credit card down. So it doesn't necessarily work. So working with them ahead of time makes it easier. And generally, when I mention this, I mean, when you're traveling as a group, there are times where you might want to have a meal together. If that suits your the mission of your travels. But in general, hotel contracts are similar. They have very strict deadlines. They say we want our money by this time and that time, so they make us sign contracts. Anytime you get any big contract, any complex contract like that, we like to have it in enough time where, our lawyers have a lot of other things on their desk as well. So we like to give it enough time so that they can kind of, if there needs to be some negotiation, some back and forth, that they have time to say, hey, we don't want this clause, let's remove it. The final thing about this, with hotels, I just want to kind of say that when I pay for a hotel, I do have to end up calling the hotel to get a credit card authorization form. So if you do sign for a hotel and they tell you that they did not receive the credit card authorization form from me, I usually do it right away. We usually don't have any problems with it, but occasionally one slips through the cracks. So you can always call the hotel the night before and say, hey, listen, we got a group coming in. Do we have a credit card authorization form on file? If not, I will take care of it. And just some more travel stuff. Like I mentioned, we rent cars as well. So we have a form in Engage, and I'll show you a link to all the forms that we have. But we have, if there are emergencies or anything like that, every vehicle that is rented through MIT for MIT Business, which is which covers student orgs as well, every car that's rented is covered under MIT insurance. So if you get into an accident, shoot me an email. It's not It's not imperative, unless it's, again, some life or death issue. You want to call 911, but if you get into an accident, a little fender bender, just kind of fill out the documentation, let me know, and then we can go through the Office of Insurance, and you probably won't even have a lot to do with it after that. And then I'm going to try and round it out with some contracts. In general, these are the contracts that we have a lot. So employment agreements, that is when you have an outside person, a non-MIT student. They can actually be an MIT employee, but just a non-MIT student serving in some capacity in regularity in your organization, and you're paying them for it. So whether it be a head coach, a music director, anything in that capacity, you want to agree to a certain amount that you're going to pay them, and then complete the agreement form, and they will be paid through regular payroll. Sponsorships, sponsorship contracts and sponsorship packets. Now the packets are, I don't want to say they're a contract, but they are somewhat of a binding document. And I'll touch base on that a little bit in a second. You have no cost contracts. They're, if you're, let's say I had a few of these come up recently, you're bringing a speaker to campus, but the speaker is not charging you. So there are insurance things involved, especially if it's maybe a controversial speaker. There are insurance things involved that they still do need to sign the contract. Service contracts, this can be petting zoos, this could be DJs, easy peasy. And then our procurement contracts through Buy to Pay, which we kind of touched on. Now, with service contracts, it's easy for us to just kind of give you a contract and ask people to sign it, as opposed to having to review their contracts, but we will take their contracts. Service contracts it's something simple. A DJ, petting zoo, editor, anybody that performs a one-time service for you. Now with the sponsorship package, so we're circling back to that. If you're having, you can have a sponsorship packet that is for one event, or you can have it for the entire year, just in support of your organization. So you want to make sure that you give them something nice, like a little nice brochure, a little pamphlet explaining who you are, what does your organization do, what's your mission statement. You want to have tier levels, and these tier levels need to be set in concrete. So there's no negotiating tier levels with any different companies. It's like gold, silver, bronze, or you can have the names. It doesn't have to be gold, silver, bronze. You can have it correlate to your club. So I know, for instance, I'll use the Energy Club. They have gigawatt and megawatt as their sponsorship tiers. So you can have it correlate to your club, but you want to give them something to hold on to. So we're going to give you, for the gold package, we're going to give you access to resumes. We're going to give you time to speak in front of our group. We'll give you time to speak at our event, and so on and so forth. Companies love MIT students. They want to get in front of you. They want to pay money to get in front of you. So don't sell yourself short. Don't go crazy and overcharge, $700,000, but don't sell yourself short in what companies are willing to do to get in front of MIT students and have some MIT students as their recruitees. So again, you want to, like I said, the tier level system. Every time the tier level goes up, you can offer more things. But the thing that's most important is that any benefit you offer has to, once you submit that packet, I do have to approve the packet. Once you submit that packet, that cannot change. That is approved, and that cannot change. You can resubmit it with some differences, but once it starts going out to companies and you say, hey, this is what you get for a gold package. If a company comes to you and says, hey, throw in X, Y, and Z, you cannot do that. If they bring up a good point to you, you can redo the packet and resend it to everybody that you already sent it to, giving them the same opportunity to get the same benefits that the other company got. So no company can get benefits different from any other company outside of those tier levels. I mean, that's very important because it opens us up to liability. After you put together a sponsorship packet, we have 2 documents that the company can sign. We start with one. It's approved by the Office of General Counsel. It's a very short form. It's a single execution document where just the company signs and say, I agree that I will pay for the gold package, period. If they have more stipulations, the company, we have a longer form with more clauses. And if they reject that, we can look at their contract. It'll take a little bit longer. And it's just the process in long form so you can see. Once you submit a sponsorship packet to me, I could probably get it back to you within a week or 2, depending on the time of year. If there are things that make me uncomfortable, language that I either don't like or think OGC is going to have a problem with, I'll send it back to you and say, hey, can you make these changes? Boop, 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 and I can approve it. If you say, hey, that's very important to our mission, I'll say, okay, I got to send it over to OGC for them to review. That could take up to 30 days. Once that's reviewed and approved, you can start sending out to sponsors and you can start receiving money. And then you wanna invoice the companies as well. So all the invoices should be made by you. I have templates for that if you need. And just a few other things. I know that we got some of these questions a while ago, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that I keep kind of these questions in the stratosphere. There's no limitation to how you can spend your money from sponsorships. If somebody gives you a gift for a certain purpose, then there are limitations. As long as the purchases are within MIT's rules, then you can purchase it if it benefits your club. I know we didn't talk much about RFPs. I'm hoping everybody kind of knows most of what RFPs are, and we went over them extensively yesterday as well. If you go to Atlas, you can go to find RFP and then kind of type in the RFP number or type in a name or type in the date range, and you can find an RFP that way. And then one of the biggest things we want to make sure is you cannot buy gift cards. So if you want to award prize winners, you can award cash prizes. If you want to, or you can pay them via payroll for their services, if they do a service for you, or you can award tech cash if it's actually an award or like a reward, an award or a reward. Can I be reimbursed for taxes? No, you cannot. So please use the MIT tax exempt number when you can, because if you do an RFP, you will not be reimbursed for taxes, unfortunately. And then I wanted to show you quickly. I have this is our website. I know a lot of you go to the DSL website. So we moved over to Engage almost entirely. So you want to go ahead and type in Engage. You want to click this banner right here to hit our website. You can go to any of these things, but you want to go to, for us, you want to go to financial forums. And you should be able to see all of the forms that you need. Still a work in process, but if you look down at the bottom, kind of saw it really quickly. Right there. I can't pinpoint it, but right there. I can't find my form. There we go. Stop there right there. I can't find my form. You can click that and just tell us what form you can't find, and we'll get you that form ASAP. Definitely just wanted to point that out. And again, we've almost entirely moved away from the DSL website. So, please definitely look here for all the things concerning Soul. And I know we're up against it, so I appreciate everybody coming. I don't want to eat up too much more of your time, but I will be here to answer any questions. And Mary will be here as well. And as always, thank you. I hope that was a little bit more in depth than some of the things that we normally do. And what we're going to try to do is do these 2 sessions. And we're always trying for improvement. So anything that you feel like you want to go more in depth into, or there should be maybe 1 session on that particular topic, please let me know. I will be sending out a survey probably in the morning, just to kind of get your feedback. Be brutally honest. Just tell me what we need to do to support you best. And I'm going to stop recording. And then we can jump and ask any questions that we might have.